In every single video that I upload to this YouTube channel, this book, Poor Charlie's Almanac, sits behind me. It talks through the wit and wisdom of Charlie Munger. And over the years on this YouTube channel, I have dedicated countless videos to the wisdom of Charlie Munger, talking through Charlie Munger's investing checklist, Charlie's time at the Daily Journal Corporation, why he invested in Alibaba stock, his kind of lattice work of mental models, and countless other nuggets of wisdom that we've gotten over the years from Charlie Munger. And although, of course, there is a huge amount to be gained by looking at the wisdom of Charlie, that really doesn't capture everything that makes Charlie Charlie.
You know, if you mix raisins with turds, they're still turds.
Kind of left out the wit component from Poor Charlie's Almanac about the wit and wisdom of Charlie Munger. Now, in this video, I want to react to another video here on YouTube called The Wit of Charlie Munger from a channel called I Value Investing. If you want to check out the original video, I will leave that link down in the description below. But it's kind of a highlight reel of some of Charlie's funny moments over the years, and I thought this would be kind of an entertaining one to just react to and you know, watch some of the reasons why we all love Charlie so much. So if you do enjoy the video, be sure to hit like and also subscribe to the channel if you are new here. But for now, let's roll this clip and have a look at the wit of Charlie Munger.
I have a friend whose grandmother used to say that she couldn't understand why people got into envy, jealousy, because it was the only one of the sins that you could never possibly have any fun at. But generally speaking, on Wall Street, I think a lot of people have had the wrong kind of grandmothers. I think few business operations have ever been constructed to require so little continuing intelligence in corporate headquarters. An idiot who was willing just to sit here would have a very good record long after the present incumbents were dead.
I think that's actually a very good nod from Charlie to Berkshire Hathaway's kind of decentralized structure. They kind of acquire businesses, let the existing management kind of just lead their own lives, send the cash to Omaha. And I think Charlie is most certainly understating how much work him and Warren do at headquarters in terms of finding new investments and keeping the ship afloat. But yeah, pretty interesting perspective nonetheless.
I think it would be unreasonable to expect that a successor would be as good at making new investments as Warren has been in the past. Well, that's just too damn bad. If you mix the mathematics of the chain letter or the Ponzi scheme with some legitimate development like the development of the internet, you are mixing something which is wretched and irrational and has bad consequences with something that has very good consequences. But you know, if you mix raisins with turds, they're still turds.
If anyone has ever sent me an email over the past several months, you're more than welcome to. My email's down in the description below. I have like a little email signature that always has a quote from some famous investor, and often it's Charlie Munger or Warren Buffett or Monish Pabrai, and I try to update that every month to keep that kind of quote in my signature sort of fresh. So maybe I need to update it to that one. That would be a good one for the next month, I think.
That's why they have me write the annual report.
I would rather throw a viper down my shirt front than hire a compensation consultant. You want to develop a good character and good mental habits, and you want to learn from your mistakes, every single one, as you go along. And of course, you particularly want to avoid evil or seriously irrational people, particularly if they are attractive members of the opposite sex. That can
Charlie knows more about this. The expert.
I have nothing to add on that particular comment from Charlie.
Our situation in looking for this help reminds me of an apocryphal tale about Mozart. And a young man of 25 or so once asked to see Mozart, and he said, "I'm thinking of starting to write symphonies, and I'd like to get your advice." And Mozart said, "Well, you're too young to write symphonies." And the guy says, "But you were writing them when you were 10 years old." And Mozart says, "Yes," he says, "but I wasn't asking anybody else for advice how to do it." And so if you remind yourself of young Mozart, why, you're the man for us. Competency is a relative concept. And what a lot of us need, including the one speaking, is what I needed to get ahead was to compete against idiots. And luckily there's a large supply. And
Warren.
That is, I guess, a witty kind of joke from Charlie, but he certainly took that lesson to heart and implemented that in the early days of his investment career. I mean, him and Warren were just working harder than a lot of people. They were flipping through Moody's manuals and so on, and they were kind of just searching for really statistically cheap stocks. You know, Charlie's talked a couple of times about they'd just flip through these manuals and find something that's trading at a PE of 2, you know, go check that the company's not completely corrupt and, you know, about to fall apart or something. And then if that was the case, that was kind of job done. I'd make an investment, add it to the portfolio. And it's kind of weird how those situations would even exist, that those stocks would be so cheap. But that's just the way it was at that time. A lot less competition, a lot less people just looking, frankly, and it clearly made them very, very wealthy.
Warren, if people weren't so often wrong, we wouldn't be so rich.
He's finally explained it to me. Okay.
That, of course, is another nod to the whole efficient markets type thing, where there's a very famous theory that's very widely taught that the market price of all publicly traded securities, whether that's stocks or bonds or options or whatever, you know, they incorporate all known information at all times and are always perfectly priced. So, you know, trying to look for something that's undervalued or overvalued just simply doesn't make sense. And there were people that genuinely believed that to the, you know, absolute nth degree, that everything was perfectly priced and there were never any exceptions. And that's obviously not true. You know, you can find examples where Warren and Charlie have made big investments at what in hindsight were clearly very cheap prices. You know, we've obviously gone through bubbles, which are clear overvaluations. And if you want to look at just very basic examples that are clearly inefficiencies in the market, you can look at things like, you know, Ford Motor Company, for example, has a ticker symbol F. And when Ford comes out with good news, from time to time, this other company called Ford Industries, which has the ticker symbol FORD, will also go up because people are accidentally buying the wrong stock. Like that's a clear example of an inefficiency and people just making a dumb error when, you know, making investments or whatever. So there you go.
I do think they created something that was probably unwise. They got countries in there that shouldn't have been there. You can't form a business partnership with your shiftless, drunken brother-in-law, you know. I mean, you have to make your partnerships with somebody else. And I think they lowered their standards a little, and it's caused strains.
I think everything here is off the record, understand?
It happens very rarely, but one of my favorite parts of this interaction between Warren and Charlie is when Charlie just says something so ridiculous that Warren's kind of dumbfounded and lost for words. Those are my highlights from these kinds of clips of Charlie.
What you don't want to be is like the man, and they held his funeral, and the minister said, "Now it's the time for somebody to say something nice about the deceased." And nobody came forward. He says, "Surely somebody can say something nice about the deceased." And nobody came forward. And finally one man came up and he said, "Well," he said, "his brother was worse."
It's really sometimes hard to split between the wit and the wisdom of Charlie. They are very intertwined. That is a funny thing to say, but pretty good advice, I would also suggest. So that is my reaction to part 1 of the wit of Charlie Munger. I love those types of videos. I find them very enjoyable. So if you want to check out the full original clip, no reaction or anything, it's linked down in the description below. And if there's any other types of videos that you'd be keen to get my reaction to, whether it's funny clips from Charlie or whether it's a more serious kind of investing topic, or you know, someone with an opinion on some investing topic that you'd like to get my thoughts on, anything like that, let me know down in the comment section below. Always keen to hear your thoughts on what you might be interested in, you know, me doing content wise here on the channel. But that is it from me for this one. I do hope you enjoyed the video. If you did, please hit like and also hit subscribe. We are getting pretty close to 40,000 subscribers now, and it'd be cool to tick that one off here soon. And I appreciate every single one of you for watching these videos. It does not go unnoticed, of course. But that's it from me for this one, and I'll see you in the next video. Cheers.